So the question that we will be exploring today is what's the best use of all of our time? And I'll endeavour to, as I say, advance all of our thoughts on that. For those of you who don't know me, here's a little bit about my background. As I said, there's 17 years gone into this. Right at the centre of my world is the wonderful Agency Collective. I'm blown away by just what an amazing community this has grown to become. And that's all down to you guys. So a huge thank you to everyone who makes the Agency Collective just so special. The way you support each other, look after each other through the various challenges of running an agency, particularly in the last 18 months, is truly inspiring. So thank you for making the AC so wonderful. This all started for me, this journey started 17 years ago at Wow, the accountancy firm that works with agencies, typically 8 to 80 staff. And, I've always been fascinated. We did the accounts for these agencies. So I saw the external face of the agency, and then I got to see under the bonnet with the accounts. And it always fascinated me, the difference between those agencies that were growing quickly and making lots of profit and those that found it a challenge. And I wanted to share some of those insights and expose some of the findings that I was seeing. And that's why I started benchmarking businesses in 2012 and crucially sharing some of the key benchmarks, not just turnover growth, but or profit, the obvious ones, but going into real detail. And some of the topics we've covered over the last nearly decade have transformed agencies. And I hope some of the research that we talk about today will help advance that thinking. Now, throughout all of this research, I'm always looking to push the boundaries. I'm always trying to make bench press bigger and better. And this year, we were helped in that process of making bench press bigger and better by Mailchimp and Co. So bench press has traditionally just been UK agencies, and Mailchimp and Co. helped us take bench press global this year, which is wonderful. So for those of you who don't know Mailchimp and Co, by the way, just very quickly, you'll all be hopefully all familiar with Mailchimp, the email marketing tool. We use it at the Agency Collective and Wow, and I know a lot of you will use it. Mailchimp and Co is a community set up in the last year or so, designed to help all of us get more of our email marketing, particularly if we offer email marketing to our clients. And it's free to join. Some of the perks you'll get if you do decide to join, you get exclusive tips and training through events and online courses to help you get more from your email marketing. There's some great tools for managing multiple clients as well. So a few agencies have either started to or have been doing this for a while, using email marketing as a regular touch point rather than just designing the brand or building the website. They say, well, actually, this is an opportunity to communicate and grow your subscriber list and ultimately pick up more clients. And those of you who are doing that sort of thing with multiple clients, there's some really neat tools for how you can do that more effectively. And ultimately, a lot of the Mailchimp and Co partners join the community to get more leads, to get some of the insider access to events and premium support. So there is a guided path to partnership for those who are interested. It's free to join. It's worth checking out. Go to Mailchimp.com and Co. As I said, the reason we partner with them is not just to tell you about their really neat community. It's because they helped us do something we've never done before, which was produce this, a benchmark report globally. It's free to get a copy. If you go to wowco.uk/global, you'll be able to see that. Ewan, thank you for sharing that link in the chat. And I'll be basing some of what I talk about today from the findings from that report. Now, today's topic is all about time. What's the best use of our time? And I'm so pleased you could join us for this because, let's be really clear, time is our most precious resource. Not arguably, I think it is our most precious resource, and how we spend it will ultimately determine our success. And today I'm going to explore how we should be spending it. So I hinted that this was an interactive session, so cameras on and mics on. We're going to be splitting it into 5 parts. In a second, the first discussion will be in pairs for 10 minutes, roughly 5 minutes each, discussing a particular point. And we're going to do that at 3 points today. In between, I've got some questions and thoughts and challenges for you about how you can spend your time. And we're going to finish up with a Q&A. So that's how we'll be spending today. And we're bang on time, ready to start the first discussion. So I thought it'd be useful actually just to look at how many hours we all work. And this was the answer to the question, how many hours do you work in a week? Well, at the lower end, 5% are working less or 20 hours or less. And at the top end, 6% are working 60 hours or more. Most sit between 21 and 60 hours. And in fact, the average is 42 hours a week in terms of what the average agency owner works. What's interesting about this graph is when we correlate hours worked to growth rates and profitability, there is no correlation. So it's definitely not a question of the harder you work, the faster you grow. It is definitely about being smart with your time. And that is the challenge for us all. Whatever stage you are at with your agency, we all need to be thinking. And by the way, I'm doing this too. I run a team of 40 and have, as you know, set up several businesses that now fortunately work without me. This is the challenge that I face, like we all do, is what is the best use of our time. What's interesting is how much time we spend working. There's no correlation to success. It's what we do with it that counts. So let's debate that question, and we'll get straight to it. I want you to in pairs in a second think about what is the best use of your time. Now, this is going to depend on your personal objectives. In a previous webinar, I talked about or encouraged you to draw a pie chart or scores out of 100 and split your business in terms of its purpose by money, lifestyle, and value. So if you want your business to generate you cash now, you're going to, and that's more important than the other two, you'll go down a particular route. If you want it to give you more lifestyle than the other two options, you'll go down a different route. And equally, if you are building a business that has value, that works without you, you're going to take another route. And I guess, look, if you split a third, and a third, well, then you're going to obviously want all of those things equally. But I guess what I encourage you to do is go, which is more important, because that's going to help you work out what business you want to build and how you make decisions about how you spend your time. And indeed, what is the best use of your time? So first thing to think about is what are your personal objectives, the sort of business that you want to build. And then the answer to that question, what's the best use of your time, is going to depend on what stage you're at. The answer you give today will be different to what the answer you gave a year ago, and will be different to the answer you'll give in a year's time. And I remember listening, I think it was a webinar that I listened in on, and someone used a great phrase where they talked about the journey of growth in a business. And they said, look, what got you here will not get you there. And that really struck with me. I thought, oh my God, they're so right. And whatever stage you're at, whether you're just about to hire your first member of staff or about to hire your 50th, whatever has got you to that point is not going to be the things that you're going to need to take you on to the next level. And so the answer to this question will be evolving. So what is the best use of your time? It's going to depend on your personal objectives, the stage you're at. And here's the thing, it's not what you're good at. It's where you can have the biggest impact. For example, you may be really good at, I don't know, designing websites. You might be the best at that. But is that where you can have the biggest impact in your business? It might be, it might not be. I guess it partly depends on the sort of business you're wanting to build. You might be really good at the accounts, right? Trust me, I guarantee that is not where you're going to have the biggest impact in your business. I can assure you of that. So this isn't what you're necessarily good at. It's where you can have the biggest impact and how you can leverage your time, right? And I love this word leverage. I love this concept, right? When you do a thing that achieves a singular result, that's not leveraged. You're just doing a task. But where you can do something that has a disproportional impact on the success of your business, that's where it starts to get interesting. So the sorts of areas that you're able to leverage your time and have disproportional impact. The two big areas are, number one, with your people. Okay. So every time you develop your people, every time you train and upskill your people, give them clear objectives, give them an environment or working environment where they can do the best work, that is leveraged time, because you spending an hour with someone training them has an impact for the rest of their career, for the rest of their time with you. That is what I'm talking about. The other area where you can get leveraged results is with new business in particular. If you are able to, particularly if you're sort of an evangelist salesperson, someone who's the face of the business, leads on that front, then you can have a disproportional impact by going and doing events and speaking and setting up partnerships, doing things that will cascade and have impact further down the line, time and time again, not just in that moment. That's what I mean by leverage time, leveraging your time. It's about getting maximum impact further down the line, time and time again, doing things that have recurring impact, that are sustainable, rather than just chucking tissues on fires, roars up for a bit, feels warm, and then dies down, and then you've got to do it all again. So lots to think about there. And as I'm talking, I'm hoping that you're starting to think, okay, maybe this is the area that I need to go down, or this is the stage I'm at now, so therefore I need to be this is the best use of my time. But to help you work that out, we're going to split into pairs now. We're going to have 10 minutes and you're just going to discuss in pairs. We'll let you know when we're halfway through. And I just want you to debate this one question. What is the best use of your time right now? And I'll see you in 10 minutes. Cool. That was fun. Anyone got anything they'd like to share? Anyone in the conversations had any realizations around the best use of their time, or perhaps you were reminded about something that maybe you'd forgotten or you knew intuitively? So anyone got anything they want to share at this point around what they think the best use of their time is at this point in your journey? Just take yourself off mute and talk, if you fancy it. If not, we will go on to part two.
I'll say something. It's quite interesting. James basically just said to me that he got himself a business coach reasonably early on that really helped him start to kind of day-to-day kind of prioritize his time, because we were talking about similar issues, but small branding creative agencies where we just want to be working on the business and not in it, and having to be too much on the tools, just because when work comes in, you've got to get the work done, and that temptation just to jump back into it, and also not being able to really prioritize that stuff when really you've just got to be really firm and do it. And so it's kind of a bit, I think James is probably a bit further along than me and better with it, but it's kind of a shared frustration, I suppose, that we had with that. And I think, having someone to just be really strict, the third person with us would be good.
Interesting. So you talk about priorities, but it's also that accountability, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
James, do you have anything you want to add to that? What advice do you have for anyone considering it?
For getting a coach, I think, I was saying, we get so much stuck in our kind of silo of doing things. It's kind of like you just get so absorbed in I have to do this, nobody else can do it, and you're in juggling so many things, and it just becomes second nature, and you just flow through it. That sometimes just getting that third person in there just to come in and say, just reassess what you're doing, understand your business a little bit better, and then all of a sudden you're like, James, don't do this, you should be doing that. You can either outsource it, you can either hire somebody, or you can automate it because there's probably an app for it or something out there. I think it was definitely worth a look or an investment into your business.
Particularly valuable if you're a sole business owner. I'm very lucky. I have a business partner, Paul, and I have that accountability, and we have crucially separate roles within the business, and we're able to provide that accountability but support each other without treading on each other's toes. And it's really helpful. Ewan, what do you want to
add? Naomi and I were just chatting actually, and we were just saying how when you're doing the doing and you're doing delivery work, you've got tools like Asana or Monday or whatever it might be, and you've got pretty clear visibility on how you're spending your time, but it's only in the context of delivery. And the interesting bit is how do you measure what you spend your time on outside of that stuff? So things like your networking, things like your business development work and self-development, developing your staff and things like that. That sort of time is harder to account because it doesn't always sit in a Trello board or in an Asana board or something like that. And that was something that Naomi and I chatted through.
And that is the perfect segue. We haven't planned this, have we? But no, genuinely it is, to what I'm going to talk about next, which is how agency owners spend their time. And exactly that point, Ewan, is only just over half of the time of agency owners is spent doing client work. So either billable client work, 37%, or account management, 17%. So add that up, we get to 54% is spent doing client work. This is for sub £1 million or $1 million agencies, I should say. Obviously, you would expect that as you get bigger, you're spending less time doing client work. But for sub $1 million agencies, this is what it looks like. This is how we spend the rest of our time. On average, this is on average. So 16% doing sales and marketing, 10% doing business admin. We've all got to do it. 9% team management, 9% strategy, and 2% other. And I guess under strategy comes personal development as well. So That's how agency owners currently spend their time. And the reason I'm sharing this is so that you can start to think around, if you were to fill this out, what yours might look like. And then, and this is where it starts to get really interesting, you can start to ask your question around what you would like it to look like. So this is what agency owners want to spend less time doing. They want to spend less time doing business admin, less time interesting doing billable client work, less time doing account management. You can see where this is going. And conversely, you can then look at what they want to spend more time doing. And of course, right at the top of the tree, someone mentioned it earlier, work on your business and not in it, right? We all want to be doing that. 72% say they'd like to spend more time on strategy, more time working on the business, not in it, building it, growing it. We all want to, or 50% of us want to spend more time on sales and marketing, because we know that that's what will help us build a better business in the future and provide that sustainable growth. Interestingly, you notice that billable client work featured reasonably highly on both lists. Some people want to do more of it, some people want to do less of it. And I guess this shows that it's a highly personal thing. And of course it's personal. This is your time. This is your life. And here's the thing we all need to remember, right? You're in charge. You're in charge. This is your business. You set this up. And by the way, most agency owners set this up. One of the main reasons they set their agencies up was freedom of choice, freedom to do what you want to do. And a lot of you will remember the day you handed in your notice and when, well, screw you guys, I'm off because I'm sick of being told what to do. And yet suddenly 3 years down the line, you're like, oh God, I hate my job. And well, maybe not quite so strong as that, but like, oh, I've had a hell of a week or I've had a hell of a month. And what's going on here? You're in control. You're the boss, right? You choose what clients you work with. You choose which staff you hire and keep and how you nurture them. You're in control, right? And so the challenge I have for you today is, what do you want to change? If you are currently not spending your time how you would like, and by the way, this doesn't include, I don't want to spend so much time in the business. I want to spend more time with my family. I want to take my kids to school, pick them up, or I want to learn kite surfing or whatever. I want to travel the world or Europe or the UK, because that's all we can really do right now. But what is it that you really want to be doing, both in the business and out of it? What do you want to be doing more of? What do you want to be doing less of? That is where it starts to get interesting. And just remember, you're in charge. So the next discussion, what do you right now want to do less of or stop doing? Now, some of you may find that tricky to answer because you're caught up in something. You're caught up in a big project. You're caught up in a current challenge. Your head of ops has just gone on maternity leave. You're like, well, I'd love to stop doing this, but I can't. So maybe think about a point in the future that allows you to dream a little, gives you space to dream. Now, that might be 3 months. It might be 3 years. But what is the point at which you can say, look, I can see this point in the future. Right now is a bit of a pickle, but like in a year's time, I want to be doing less of this, or I want to stop doing that. And then crucially, so once you've picked that point in time, worked out what you want to be doing less of or stop doing, and then I want you to think about how you are going to do it, like how you're actually going to do it. There's no point just saying, yeah, I'm going to do less of it, and then just hoping it's going to happen, because it won't. And the how, I think, is really interesting, because often this will mean you hiring people. If you want to do less client work, unless you're going to do less client work overall as a business, you need to find other people to do that client work, right? So that either if you have capacity in your team, it means passing that work over to them. It means training them up potentially. It potentially means hiring them, or maybe even bringing some freelance resource. But the how is really important, and often it will involve people, because if you want to do less of something, often that will mean handing that job over to someone else. It's one of the great challenges of growing a business, isn't it? You start off doing everything, and gradually you pass on bits until you get to a point where the whole thing can work without you. And the other bit of the how might be the point that Steve and James were chatting about earlier around the accountability. And I see a lot of, particularly, sole agency owners benefiting from external advice. But also I've seen real change happen where you've got board of directors, often it's 2, get some accountability and get some weekly meetings in place where they talk about objectives. Rather than just client work, they talk about how they're going to spend their time. They talk about strategic issues. I remember one agency in particular, two guys, small design agency. I think they had a team of, it was those 2 plus 4 designers. Did some great work, had some nice clients, but we're treading water. We're standing still because all they'd ever talk about on a Monday morning meeting was client issues. And I suggested they change that and said, you have a client issues meeting where you talk about the stuff and the work and the workflow and everything. And then you have a separate meeting where you talk about, and they split the roles up. Because that's the other thing. They had this mishmash of roles. They were both like joint MDs. They were both kind of responsible for sales, but not, kind of responsible for client service, but not. No, we split it. Alex, you're in charge of sales. Alan, you're in charge of ops, right? What objectives do you want to set in each of those areas? Then you've got the accountability. Now, all of a sudden, things changed. By the way, it was the other way around. Not that that matters, but I've just realized as I'm telling you the story, I'm like, that doesn't sound right. Alan was in charge of sales. Alex was in charge of ops. And that's what they did. And that was the thing that transformed their agency. What is the thing that's going to be transform yours? We're going to split into groups, debate for 10 minutes. Off we go. So I've just had such a really interesting chat with Natalie. And Natalie, thank you for stimulating a few thoughts. We talked about lots of things, so I'm just going to share a few with you. So we were talking about impact. I know we talked the discussion was supposed to be about what you're letting go of, but we talked about maybe what you want to do more of. And the challenge with letting go of stuff is that often we have these habits that are based around fixing problems and firefighting. And it's quite hard to let go of those habits because we're good at fixing problems and firefighting. We've been doing it for years. And sometimes it's easier to do that than let the team deal with it. A great analogy is, I remember chatting to an agency owner who said, my job now, or my job used to be firefighting. My job now is building fire stations. And I thought, I get that. That's really neat. So now the challenge is when you then see a fire, is not to go and put it out. It's to let the team work out how they're going to do it. And even though it could be painful the first couple of times watching them do this, because you know how to put out that fire, it's the only way to build capability. It's the only way to build capability. I'm teaching my daughter to swim at the moment. We can't do it from a textbook. No matter how many YouTube videos that we watch, it's not going to help. The only way to do it is to jump in. And that's what we've spent all summer doing. And she can now swim it. It's amazing. But this is the same for our teams. And if we want to let go of things, we need to give them the opportunity, and we need to recognize when our old habits are stopping us from doing that and getting in the way. And often it's thinking and habits, and how do we break those habits? Well, a great way to break them is to be really clear about what you're building. If you want to build a business that works without you, if you want to spend less time doing this, less time firefighting, for example, dealing with client issues or doing business admin, you need to build that capability, and you won't get there unless you do that. So it's the only way to do it, right? And so once you understand that, you can then spot yourself doing those things and gradually unwind those habits. So I think being aware of it, spotting it, and then just taking a step back and thinking, okay, how can I build more fire stations rather than firefighting? So that is one of the challenges of letting go. I'm going to share a couple more thoughts as we wrap up, just to share my screen again. So the next discussion, I'm not sure how much time we'll have for this, so we may need to change the timings, but we talked about what you want to do less of. We're also going to want to talk about what we want to do more of, and then how you're going to do it. So maybe we'll take, well, do you know what? Let's have Ewan, can we do a 5-minute discussion for this one? This will be a quick fire one. Hopefully you've got the hang of this now, but I just think it's really cool just to be able to chat to fellow agency owners and just really quick fire, just be able to say, right, here's what I want to do more of, and here's how specifically I'm going to be doing it. And again, think about where you can have the biggest impact. I was chatting to Natalie earlier and she said, I can have the biggest impact in new business. Well, my challenge, if that's your answer, is whereabouts in new business. You know, I'm interested in the 20%, applying the Pareto's law. So 80% of the results will come from 20% of the effort. What is the 20% at the top of new business that's going to make the biggest difference? You know, it might be, it probably isn't writing the proposals. It might be opening the doors, and the writing the proposals is something that someone else can do. So what is the 20% that can make the biggest difference? That's what I'm really interested in. So what do you want to do more of or start doing, and how are you going to do it? We're just going to spend 5 minutes on this one, so it's quick fire, and then I'm going to share a couple of final thoughts. Off we go. Thank you, Ian. So that was fun. I know it's a really quick fire round, but I learned so much. James used a lovely phrase. I said, what do you want to do more of? He said, I want to do more of nothing. More of nothing. I thought, brilliant. That's a really good thing. And here's the thing, a lot of us will be looking to do less work in our businesses. This question of what's the best use of my time is one we should be asking ourselves regularly and forever. And if you found today tricky, particularly tricky in that to get beyond where you currently are, to think beyond that, or to think in a really transformational way, I've got a little exercise for you that I'll just share with you. It's a bit morbid at the start, but bear with me. I want you to imagine you've just been to the doctor, and the doctor says, I'm really sorry to tell you, you've got your blood test results back, and you've got some heart condition that means that you cannot work more than a day a week. Right? If you do that, you're a goner. So you've only got 20% of your time. You can only work a day of your week. My challenge to you is, what would you do in that day? What would you do in that 20% of the time? If you needed to continue with your business and continue with your plans, you only had 1 day a week, or you could split it across multiple days, but you get the idea, 20% of the time. What would you do with that time to have the maximum impact? And I think if you actually answer that question and go properly, like, what would I do in my day in order to continue this? And how would we make this work? It will take you down on a journey that I promise will lead you to some great places. So a really interesting thought exercise. The final one I want to share with you, or the final slide I want to share with you is this one, because rest and recuperation is an absolutely essential part of everything that we are trying to achieve in our businesses. We are the captains of our ships. And if we are to lead our businesses, lead our people in any direction that we might want to take it, we need to be in the best physical and mental shape possible. And part of that is our day-to-day, how we look after ourselves. But rest is and sleep, by the way. I read a book 18 months ago, 2 years ago, that changed the way I think about sleep, called Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. But taking time out. So it's something that I've always done. I work on 90-day projects, and then I take typically 10 days out and switch off, no emails, nothing. And then another 90-day project, 10 days out. I stopped doing that in the pandemic because, it was all hands to the pump and working from home. Couldn't take a break, couldn't go on holiday. Massive mistake. And I realized very quickly that I wasn't at my best. I wasn't as focused. I wasn't as empathetic. I wasn't leading as well as I should do. And it was a massive reminder to me about the importance of rest. Every single person that I've spoken to, and I've just gone, I think you should take a break. And they've taken a break. They've contacted me afterwards and gone, my God, I'm so glad you helped me or encouraged me to do that. Like, I feel like a different person. All of the problems that they were previously there feel completely different. All the challenges suddenly look like opportunities. And I promise you, it can be that simple, just taking a break. I know a lot of you have, this last 18 months has been incredibly tiring, incredibly challenging. Even in the good times, running an agency is not exactly a walk in the park. It's a hell of a roller coaster. And I take my hat off to every single one of you who jumps on that roller coaster every single day and goes through this. Whatever you're trying to achieve, however you want to spend your time, please make sure that a big chunk of that is looking after you and you're getting the rest that you need to be the absolute best you can be. So final thought to leave you with. I love these discussions. Thanks so much for taking part. Just a reminder, this insight is thanks to the benchmarking work we've been doing with Mailchimp and Co. We've been benchmarking agencies since 2012, and this year 2 things have happened. We went global and we've also gone local. So Benchpress in November will be releasing regional reports for UK agencies. Now, if you've already taken part in Benchpress 2021, we've got your data. It's fine. it will be counted towards the regional reports. If you haven't yet taken part and you're curious about how you perform, not just nationally, but how you perform against agencies in your region, then it only takes 10 minutes to complete the survey. We've shortened it right down, just focusing on 14 metrics that we're going to compare. And if you go to wowco.uk/survey, the link's in the chat. It takes 10 minutes. I promise you it'll be worthwhile. The insights you get have the potential to be transformational. So thank you so much for taking part in that. Thank you so much for your contributions here today. You know, these events are only as good as you make them. So I'm very grateful for you sharing. And I'd encourage you to continue the conversation with each other, with your business partners, with your coaches, and you know, with your other halves at home. You know, how do you want to live your life? How do you want to spend your time? We're in charge of this, and I wish you all the very best of luck on your journey. So thanks very much. You can always find me in the AC Slack. Any thoughts, comments, questions, I'm here to help. And have a lovely rest of the day and enjoy the sunshine this bank holiday. I'll see you soon, guys.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you. Bye.